Chapter 23 of The Autobiography of a Newspaper Girl by Elizabeth L. Banks. This LibriVox recording is in the public domain. Chapter 23 The Story of a Failure. Remember, let no obstacle stand in your way. You are to move heaven and earth to get this information. Don't let anything like trouble, time, or expense be taken into consideration. If you need 10 times the amount of money you have with you, telegraph for it. Put forth every effort. Expend all your energy to make this thing succeed. And if I should fail? Don't think of it. Don't use the word. You must not fail. I've picked you out for this delicate job because it has seemed to me you had in you all the qualities that were needed to bring the thing to pass. You've got diplomacy, tact, shrewdness, discretion, and above all, you are absolutely feminine, and you haven't got newspaper woman and interviewer placarded all over you. I want this information, and I believe the man I am sending you to is the only one who can or will give it, and I believe you are the only person who can get him to give it. Don't you dare to fail. Thus was I sent one day to Washington to penetrate into a secret of state, to get certain most valuable information from a very eminent personage who resided at the nation's capital. It was at a time when the getting of money was a matter of very great importance to me, and I went upon the mission as a sort of free lance. That is, I was to be paid all expenses and have a handsome fee if I succeeded, which it was impressed upon me by the editor that I must do. If I failed, well, I would not get the fee, but I would be allowed what was known as expenses. It was with a large amount of self-confidence that I set out upon that mission. The editor had declared that I had all the elements of success in my own person. Why, then, should I not succeed? Why should not the eminent personage give me the information I sought? Why should I not get hold of a state secret? I had heard that other women, in present days and in days gone by, under monarchical governments, had become possessed of valuable information concerning affairs of state. Now, what those hampered women under monarchical rule could accomplish, should not I, an American woman in free and easy Washington, with its ready access to government buildings and government officials, do? I arrived in Washington, took residence at one of the best hotels, ordered whatever I wanted for comfort and even luxury without having to take expense into consideration, changed my traveling costume for one more smart and fashionable looking, and took a cable car for Capitol Hill. I had learned that at the Capitol I would find the eminent personage. My card bore the name of a London paper, as well as that of the American paper in the interests of which I had gone on the mission, but I drew my pencil across the name of the London paper. It showed quite plainly, however, and the word London looked large and important. In one of the luxurious waiting rooms of the Capitol I waited while a boy hunted up the great man with whom I desired speech. It took 3/4 of an hour to find him, and another half hour before he would come to me. When he finally came, and I saw him, I experienced a feeling of pleasure that the man I had been sent to interview was a gentleman of more than ordinary refinement and culture, for I always hated coming into contact with vulgar, common politicians. This man, who approached me with my card in one hand and holding out the other, was the polished gentleman, with dignified yet pleasant face, of easy yet irreproachable manner. He shook hands with me. "You've been in London, I see," he said, turning to my card. "Yes," I replied, "but, as you see, I have not come from the London paper to you, but from the—" He took one of the upholstered chairs near me. "Of course, you want to interview me, and I have no notion for being interviewed," he said. "But first, before we come to that, I can't help telling you that your name and face are very familiar to me. I seem to know you, and now, where did I know you?" "It must have been in the other world during our previous existence," I laughed. "Perhaps we were great friends in that other existence. Brothers, I shouldn't wonder, for in the other existence I'm sure I was a man, and in punishment for some crime was condemned to be a woman in this." "No, that's not it," exclaimed he, laughing, "because you see I don't remember you as a man at all. Oh, I think I know now. Did you not some years ago get an appointment to go to Peru as private secretary to the American minister?" "Yes," I replied. "I remember now," he went on. "You were in Washington just before you left your country. You were doing the Capitol, and somebody pointed you out to me and said, 'There's the little girl that's going to be a diplomat.' I had heard about you, of course, for it was so extraordinary for a young woman to get a place in any of our legations, or any other legation for that matter. I was curious to see what sort of person was going to start us in for female diplomacy. I particularly noticed you, and the whole thing struck me as ludicrous. You seemed very young, very ignorant and innocent looking, and very bright and happy looking too. I vaguely wondered what was going to become of you, whether you would ever come back to your own country again, and whether you would become a woman with a career. How did you make out as a diplomat? Did you penetrate into state secrets, learn all about Peruvian affairs, and serve your country well and nobly?" He sat back in his chair and laughed softly, and I laughed too, but I felt more sad than gay, because this man's remembrance of me brought back to me the memory of something of happiness and ignorance and youth, which I knew I had left behind me, and then I liked not his reference to state secrets. It annoyed me, because for the moment I had forgotten why I had come to Washington. However, for a few minutes we talked over Peru. I told him, much to his amusement, about the earthquake and the fleas, and we chatted about indifferent subjects, till he said: "But you have come to interview me, and I haven't another minute to spare now till dinner time. Since we are such old friends, suppose we dine together this evening, and while dining we will get down to the business of interviewing, which, if not nearly so pleasant to me as chatting about England and Peru, will be, I suppose, more profitable to you. Now, what do you say to 7 o'clock at the restaurant? Till then, good-bye." This easy meeting, easy approach, and this getting upon a footing of such pleasant acquaintanceship, not to say friendship, was something I had not counted upon. It was, I knew, a very advantageous beginning, one that my editor would look upon as a great piece of luck. I felt assured of success as I walked all the way back to my hotel, walked because I wanted to think out the whole interview carefully, and lay all my plans for getting the scoop that was to delight the editor, astonish the public, not only in my own country but in other countries, and bring me in a goodly sum of money. That evening, as I sat opposite the statesman at dinner, our conversation took in many subjects. He was widely traveled, and talked most entertainingly and instructively of all that he had seen. He was interested in certain English affairs which I, because of my late residence in London, could give him information upon. He knew all the embassies and legations of foreign countries, and talked familiarly of the different diplomats accredited to Washington. I asked an occasional question, and suddenly the information I wanted came to me in the most natural, informal way in the world. Not only that, I was told far more than any editor could dare to hope any reporter could discover, and I learned things I had not tried to learn, but valuable things from the newspaper point of view, nevertheless. Both this man and I were interested in the great subject of peace. Peace, not only in our own country, but in all the countries of the world. We talked of the necessity for an international court of arbitration. We deprecated the cruelty that war brought about, the hardness of heart, the deadening of sympathy for human and animal suffering. We shuddered at the thought of horses left wounded and dying in slow agony, untended and lonely on the battlefields. "I am glad to find that our opinions are in perfect accord upon this subject," he said. "For the present I am obliged to keep quiet upon certain matters of my belief. It is policy for me to do so. I would not have talked to you as I have done, if you had been the ordinary newspaper woman. One cannot speak frankly to many representatives of the press. Now, you are a woman of discretion, and I expect you, in writing up your interview with me, to use your own judgment, and, of course, your judgment will tell you what must not go into the paper." He walked with me back to my hotel. "Good night," he said. "Good luck to you, and be careful with your interview. I wouldn't have trusted that innocent little girl that went to Peru as a diplomat with some of the information I have given to you to-night. I am inclined to think you are more of a diplomat now than you were in those days." He laughed again, half sadly. "Remember," he said, "you and I might be the cause of somewhat disturbing peace if we talked too much. Good night again." He was gone, and I took the elevator to my rooms. I turned on all the electric lights and made the place a brilliant blaze. I put my hand dazedly to my head. I looked blankly at the great pads of copy paper supplied by the telegraph office for newspaper correspondence. There was a knock at my door. "Come in," I said. "Telegram," said the boy, thrusting a silver tray out towards me. "Any answer?" he asked, as I read the message. Now, the message was this: "Any news yet? Urge every effort." "Yes, there's an answer," I said to the boy, and on a telegraph form I wrote one word: "Wait," and handed it to him to dispatch to the paper from which the telegram had come. It gained me time, that was all. Then, up and down the room, up and down for over 2 hours I walked, fighting such a battle with myself as I had never before been given to fight. I knew that not one single word of what the great man had said to me ought to be put in print. It might do harm to him, harm to the country, harm to another country, harm perhaps to a cause in which we both were interested, the cause of peace. "I must not write it! I must not write it!" I said again and again as I continued my journey up and down the room. "I will not let journalistic instinct get the better of my discretion, my honor, my judgment." But there was another side to the question. There was a duty one owed to one's paper, to one's editor. To be sent after a thing, to get it, then to refuse to deliver it up, was not that a sort of theft on my part, a dishonorable act, a trifling with the best interests of my paper and my own best interests as well? Why did not great men keep silence if they did not wish their remarks, their fears, their hopes, their aims to get into the papers? Why had not this man refused to talk with me? Ah! You and I might be the cause of disturbing peace if we talked too much. That was what he had said. Then why had he talked to me, a reporter? But had he said the more important things to a reporter? Had he not rather talked to the woman who was in accord with his sympathies, his views, his aims? When a woman was a newspaper reporter, where was the dividing line between herself as woman and as reporter? Should she govern her womanhood and her honor by her journalistic instinct? Or should she govern that journalistic instinct by that honor and that womanhood? Honor? Yes. But what about the duty she owed to her employers? What about withholding that which they would consider theirs by right? And there was the money I was to receive. I am glad to remember that when at first I began to fight that battle, I did not take the large fee I was to have into consideration. Not until I had nearly decided what to do did this phase of the matter occur to me. I needed that money. I had earned it. No, I had not earned it. I had not worked hard to obtain it. The success of my mission was due to an accident. The man had first become interested because he saw by my card that I was from London. Then he remembered having seen me in what now seemed to me that long ago time when I was a 9-days' wonder, going away to a far country as a member of the American legation. He had not cared anything about the paper I represented. He had talked to me personally. We both desired peace, therefore he did not expect me to write up anything that might help to bring about war. I went to the telegraph forms, tore off one, and wrote: "Absolutely impossible. Refuses even to see me. Useless to try. E.B." It was past midnight, but I was known to be a newspaper woman, and there was nothing surprising in the fact of my ringing the bell and asking the boy to send this telegraphic message at once. He started down the hall with it. I stepped out, and as I saw him disappearing, I called after him, "Wait a minute." He turned back to come to me, and I said, "No, go on, nothing. Send it off instantly. Don't let anything delay you. Get away with it. Get away with it." I went back to my room. 2 minutes had gone. I rang the bell. The boy was delayed in answering. "That telegram I gave you. Quick, has it been sent? Can't you get it back?" I asked. "No, it's just gone. I saw the telegraph operator tick it off." "All right, it doesn't make any difference," I said. But it did make a difference. What difference I knew not, but I have sometimes since thought it might have made a very important difference, that perhaps it was given unto me at that time to influence certain events, which quickly followed. At the instant when I called the boy back, I would have recalled the telegram. When I rang the bell, again I would have recalled it, but I could not, for it was on its way to the editor of the paper. When it was fairly gone, I knew I was safe. I had lied, saying I could not see the man, and I did not intend to confess myself a liar. I laughed over the way I had caught myself in my own snare. I had told a good lie, and I was going to stick to it. I argued that if all was, as they said, fair in love and war, I had a right to say to my belief that some things also were fair in peace. There was lying in war. Indeed, it was often brought about by lies. Why then should not I add my little mite in the way of a lie for the sake of peace? Very early the next morning I wrote a note to the man I had interviewed. "After leaving you, I decided it was best not to send anything of our conversation to the paper. You told me to use my own judgment and discretion, and they have warned me that much harm may be done by the repetition of any of the important statements you made. I have telegraphed to the paper that you absolutely refused to see me, because if I said I saw you I would be required to explain how I had been so stupid as not to make you talk, and I cannot bear to be thought stupid. I am sure that if it should ever become necessary for you to bear me out in my statement that I know not the man, you will do so by insisting that you know not this woman, because for me to be caught in a lie would be almost as embarrassing as for me to be thought stupid." I sent this note by special messenger, and took the first train out of Washington. "You mean to say that you, with all your heralded originality of resource, couldn't so much as get a look at that man?" asked the editor, when I had returned from my trip. "Yes, I mean to say it. I never failed to see any one before but Gladstone, so don't be too hard on me. You said if I couldn't get to him, nobody could." "I don't know when I swore so hard as I did last night when your telegram came saying you had failed. I felt so sure you would succeed when I got your first telegram of 'Wait,' that I had my headlines ready. What did you say 'wait' for?" "Oh, that was before I entirely gave it up. I was trying to see what I could do." "Well, I'm sorry for your sake as well as ours. It would have been worth a pretty sum. But make out your expense account so I can send it in, and I'll add $10 for your trouble. That's the best I can do." "I shall pay my own expenses, and I don't want the $10. I got nothing. You owe me nothing." "Oh, say, that's nonsense. We always pay the expenses and time rates when you go off on a job like that. Don't you go to doing anything of that sort, and establishing a dangerous precedent for the other poor devils that fail. Your expenses must have been $20, weren't they? Make them out now." but I did not make out any bill of expenses, and I took no time rates on that occasion of failure. The lie I had told rested easy upon my conscience. I did not regret it. I never shall. But I had, in a way, cheated that paper out of something, and I was not going to make it pay for the privilege of being cheated, and I lost $30 by that failure. End of chapter 23.